Listen carefully. The life you are living right now is not the life you are capable of. Every great achievement in history was built twice, first in the mind and only later in reality. Before the world believes in you, you must see it. Before the results appear, you must act as if they already exist. Most people wait for proof. Winners move on vision. This audiobook will teach you how to see your future so clearly that your actions have no choice but to follow. If you can hold the vision, you will change the outcome. Chapter 1. Stop waiting for permission. No one is coming. That's the signal. Let that land. No approval email. No green light. No moment where the world taps you on the shoulder and says, "Now you're ready." That moment does not exist. And the faster you accept that, the faster your life changes. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they are waiting. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for support. Waiting for validation. Waiting for permission. And while they wait, time keeps moving. That's the cost. Not failure. Delay. You have a choice. You can keep waiting for someone else to authorize your life. Or you can decide that you are the authority. That's the key. The world does not reward potential. It responds to movement. Visionaries understand this early. They move first. They adjust later. Average people do the opposite. They wait until they feel safe. They wait until they feel certain. They wait until the risk is gone. By then it's too late. No one is coming. That's the signal. Let's get honest about what waiting for permission really looks like. It sounds responsible. It sounds mature. It sounds logical. But psychologically, it's fear dressed up as patience. You tell yourself, "I need one more course. I need more information. I need to be more confident. I need support first." You need discipline. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Confidence comes after action, not before it. You don't become confident and then act. You act and confidence follows. That's how the brain works. Every time you wait, your brain learns one thing. Avoidance is acceptable. Every time you act, your brain learns something else. I am someone who moves. Identity is built through behavior. Not intention. Not planning. Behavior. That's the key. Most people secretly want permission because permission removes responsibility. If someone chooses you, you can blame them if it fails. If someone approves you, you feel justified. If someone validates you, you feel safe. But when you choose yourself, there's no one to hide behind. That's why people hesitate. Waiting for permission is really waiting to avoid accountability. You have a choice. You can live as a participant in your own life. Or you can live as the architect. Participants wait to be selected. Architects decide and build. You don't need their permission. Say it again, slowly in your mind. You don't need their permission. Not your families. Not your friends. Not societies. Not the internet's. Your life does not require a vote. No one is coming. That's the signal. Look at any person who built something meaningful. They were not chosen first. They were often doubted, ignored, even mocked. Not because they were wrong, but because they moved before the world was comfortable. Vision always looks unreasonable at the beginning. That's why it's rare. If your idea feels obvious to everyone, you're already late. But most people quit in the invisible phase. The phase where no one claps. The phase where no one believes. The phase where effort outweighs feedback. That phase is not punishment. It's protection. It filters out people who need permission to move. You have a choice. You can interpret silence as rejection. Or you can interpret it correctly, as freedom. Silence means no one is stopping you. That's the key. Let's talk behavior. What are you doing right now that signals you're waiting? Are you consuming more than you're creating? Are you planning more than executing? Are you talking more than doing? That's waiting behavior. And the cost compounds. Every delayed action weakens your self-trust. Every avoided decision reinforces hesitation. This is not about motivation. It's about standards. You either operate by a standard of action or a standard of comfort. You can't have both. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. That's the key. Here's what must stop. Stop asking, what will they think? Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop trying to be chosen. Stop explaining your vision to people who haven't earned the explanation. That's not strategy. That's self-sabotage. Here's what must start. Start moving before clarity. Start acting while uncertain. Start making decisions with incomplete information. That's leadership. Discipline is choosing action when comfort begs you to wait. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. Every time you act without permission, you strengthen the muscle that matters most, self-trust. And self-trust changes everything. Let's be clear. Waiting feels safe, but it's the riskiest strategy there is. Because while you wait, the clock doesn't. Opportunities expire. Energy fades. Circumstances change. And regret grows quietly. Most people don't regret failing. They regret not trying when they had the chance. You have a choice. You can be early and uncomfortable, or late and irrelevant. That's the trade. No one is coming. That's the signal. Here's a practical instruction. Starting today, adopt one rule. If an action aligns with your vision and does not violate your values, do it immediately. No overthinking. No polling opinions. No delay. Speed creates clarity. Motion reveals direction. You don't think your way into action. You act your way into thinking. That's the key. Start small if you must. But start today. Send the message. Publish the work. Make the call. Begin the routine. Not perfectly. Consistently. Discipline beats intensity every time. Understand this deeply. Permission-based living produces average outcomes. Self-directed living produces growth. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be decisive. Fear fades with repetition. Decisions create momentum. Momentum silences doubt. That's the order. Action first. Confidence later. Not the other way around. There will be moments when no one understands you. But that means you're not living on borrowed beliefs. There will be moments when support is absent. But that means you're building internal strength. There will be moments when you feel alone. But that means you're ahead of the curve. Isolation is not a sign you're wrong. It's often a sign you're early. No one is coming. That's the signal. Let this chapter reframe how you see hesitation. Hesitation is not wisdom. It's untrained discipline. And discipline is trainable. Every day you choose action over delay, you reinforce a new identity. I am someone who moves. That identity compounds. And once you stop waiting for permission, you start living with intention. That's when vision becomes real. You've now confronted the first barrier, hesitation. You've seen it for what it is. A habit, not a truth. But movement alone is not enough. Action without direction becomes noise. So now it's time to understand the foundation beneath all great action. Why vision must come before proof. Why belief always precedes evidence. Chapter 2. Vision always comes before evidence. Nothing real starts with proof. Let that settle. Every meaningful change in your life will ask something uncomfortable of you first. It will ask you to believe before you see, to move before results appear, to commit before certainty arrives. That's not philosophy. That's reality. Every breakthrough in history followed the same order. First, vision, then action, then evidence. Never the other way around. But most people reverse it. They say, show me first. Prove it to me. Let me see results, then I'll believe. That mindset keeps people exactly where they are. You don't see it because you don't act. You don't act because you don't see it. That's the loop. And it's deadly. Let's be direct. Waiting for evidence is how dreams die quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Day by day. Decision by decision. Delay by delay. People don't quit their dreams in one moment. They postpone them until they disappear. I'll start when. I'll commit once. I'll believe it when. You have a choice. You either live by vision, or you live by circumstances. Vision-led people move toward a future they've chosen. Circumstance-led people react to whatever shows up. That's the difference. That's the key. Psychologically, the brain is wired to trust evidence. That's survival. If you touch fire and get burned, you remember. If you fail once, your brain files it under danger. So when you try something new, your brain asks for proof. Is this safe? Has this worked before? Where's the guarantee? But growth does not come with guarantees. If it did, everyone would do it. Vision requires you to override primitive wiring with conscious discipline. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Discipline to act without proof. Discipline to stay consistent without feedback. Discipline to hold belief when results are silent. That's real strength. Here's the trap most people fall into. They confuse realism with limitation. They say, I'm just being realistic. You're being reactive. Realism without vision is just fear with a better vocabulary. Vision is not denial of reality. It's a commitment to a future reality that doesn't exist yet. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you wait until it makes sense to everyone else, you're already behind. Vision is supposed to feel unreasonable at first. That's how you know it's vision. You have a choice. You can let current results define your belief, or you can let your belief define your future results. One keeps you small. The other changes your life. That's the key. Let's talk behavior. Right now, what evidence are you waiting for? More money before you start? More confidence before you speak up? More support before you commit? More certainty before you act? Be honest. Because whatever you're waiting for, action is the thing that creates it. Money follows value creation. Confidence follows repetition. Support follows visible commitment. Certainty follows movement. Never the other way around. You don't see it because you don't act. You don't act because you don't see it. Visionaries understand something average minds resist. Results are a lagging indicator. They show up after behavior has already changed. The gym doesn't give you strength on day one. The business doesn't give profit immediately. The skill doesn't feel natural at the start. But consistency bends reality. That's not motivation. That's math. Small actions, repeated daily, compound. But only if you stay long enough. And staying requires belief without evidence. Here's where discipline replaces weakness. Weakness says, I'll try when I feel inspired. Discipline says, I act because I decided. Weakness asks, is this working yet? Discipline asks, did I show up today? Weakness quits when results are slow. Discipline stays until results are inevitable. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. That's the key. Let's reframe doubt. Doubt is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're early. If there were evidence already, doubt wouldn't exist. Doubt lives in the gap between vision and proof. That gap is where growth happens. Most people try to escape the gap. Winners learn to operate inside it. They don't panic when results lag. They don't negotiate with discipline. They don't abandon the process. They stay. Here's a practical instruction. Starting now, separate decision from emotion. Decide first. Act second. Feel later. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Set non-negotiable actions. Daily actions. Simple actions. Repeatable actions. Then execute them whether you feel like it or not. That's how vision becomes reality. Not through belief alone, but belief backed by behavior. Another hard truth. The world only believes after you persist longer than expected. People don't doubt you because they hate you. They doubt you because they haven't seen proof yet. And that's fine. You don't need their permission. You don't need their belief. You need your discipline. Say it again internally. You don't need their permission. Vision is lonely in the beginning. That's normal. Applause comes at the end, not the start. Most people quit right before the evidence appears. Because the brain gets tired of holding belief without feedback. That's when discipline matters most. When nothing is happening externally, but everything is being built internally. That phase is not wasted time. It's preparation. Your nervous system is learning consistency. Your identity is being reshaped. Your standards are being set. You're becoming someone who finishes. That's the real transformation. You have a choice. You can keep outsourcing belief to circumstances. Or you can become the source of belief yourself. One makes you dependent. The other makes you dangerous, in the best way. Dangerous to excuses. Dangerous to old limits. Dangerous to the life you've outgrown. That's the key. Let's make this concrete. From this point forward, adopt this rule. Evidence does not determine effort. Effort determines evidence. Say it again. Evidence does not determine effort. Effort determines evidence. Live by that rule long enough, and your results will catch up. They always do. Vision is not positive thinking. It's disciplined thinking. It's choosing what you commit to long before the world confirms it. It's waking up and acting in alignment even when nothing has changed yet. That's leadership. That's maturity. That's power. Understand this deeply. Your future self already exists, but only as a possibility. Vision is how you give that possibility a direction. Action is how you give it substance. And discipline is how you close the gap. You don't see it because you don't act. You don't act because you don't see it. Break the loop. At first, let this chapter lock in one truth. If you demand evidence before effort, you will stay exactly where you are. If you commit to vision before proof, reality will eventually comply. Not instantly, not easily, but inevitably. You've now crossed the second threshold. You no longer wait for permission. You no longer wait for proof. But vision alone is fragile. If it's not reinforced daily, it fades under pressure. So now it's time to learn how to keep vision alive. How to make it unavoidable. How to make it part of your daily operating system. Chapter 3. If you can't see it daily, you won't become it. Vision does not survive neglect. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They think vision is something you decide once. A goal you set. A future you imagine. And then, life happens. Pressure shows up. Distractions multiply. Doubt creeps in. And slowly, quietly, the vision fades. Not because it wasn't real, but because it wasn't revisited. If you can't see it daily, you won't become it. That's the rule. Vision is not sustained by motivation. It's sustained by repetition. High performers don't hope their future into existence. They rehearse it, mentally, emotionally, daily, before the world sees it physically. That's the key. Let's talk psychology. Your brain moves toward what it sees most often. Not what you want. Not what you talk about. What you see. Your mind is a targeting system. Feed it chaos, it moves toward chaos. Feed it limitation, it moves toward limitation. Feed it clarity, it moves toward clarity. What you see repeatedly, you move toward automatically. That's not motivation. That's neuroscience. And most people are letting their environment decide what they see. There's social media, other people's opinions, other people's fears. Then they wonder why their vision feels weak. You have a choice. You can let the world program your focus. Or you can do it deliberately. That's the key. Vision fades under pressure because pressure narrows focus. When stress hits, the brain defaults to what's familiar. Old habits, old reactions, old limits. If your future is not familiar to your mind, you will abandon it under stress. That's why repetition matters. High performers make the future familiar before it arrives. They don't wait to feel like the person they want to become. They practice being that person mentally first. Let's be clear. This is not daydreaming. Daydreaming is passive. Vision rehearsal is active. Daydreaming escapes reality. Vision rehearsal prepares you to dominate it. Big difference. That's the key. Here's what most people do wrong. They visit their vision occasionally. When they're inspired. When they're emotional. When something goes wrong. That's not enough. Vision needs daily contact. Just like the body needs daily movement. Skip it long enough, and it weakens. You don't lose vision all at once. You drift. And drifting is dangerous. Because drifting feels comfortable. No resistance. No urgency. No clarity. Just slow decay. If you can't see it daily, you won't become it. You have a choice. You can treat vision as optional. Or you can treat it as a discipline. One leads to frustration. The other leads to inevitability. That's the key. High performers rehearse their future every day. Not for hours, but with precision. They know who they are becoming. They know how they show up. They know how they respond under pressure. So when pressure hits, they don't panic. They execute. Because they've already been there, mentally. Let's get practical. Here's what must stop. Stop consuming information first thing in the morning. Stop starting your day in reaction mode. Stop letting random inputs shape your mental state. That's weakness by default. Not because you're bad, but because you're undisciplined. It's not about distraction. It's about discipline. Here's what must start. Every single day, before the world gets access to your attention, you reconnect with your vision. Quietly. Intentionally. Without distraction. You see the future version of yourself. How you speak. How you move. How you decide. How you handle pressure. You don't rush it. You don't dramatize it. You rehearse it. That's the key. This daily rehearsal does something powerful. It creates identity alignment. When your actions match your internal image, discipline becomes easier. You stop negotiating with yourself. Because acting out of alignment feels wrong. That's how habits change. Not through willpower. Through identity. What you see repeatedly, you move toward automatically. Most people try to change behavior without changing self-image. That's why they relapse. They force discipline from the outside. High performers build discipline from the inside. They become someone who does the work. Before the work pays off. Let's address resistance. Your mind will say, "This is pointless. This isn't real. I should be doing something productive." That's old programming talking. Vision rehearsal is productive. It sharpens focus. It stabilizes emotion. It clarifies priorities. And most importantly, it trains your nervous system. So when opportunity appears, you don't hesitate. You recognize it. You don't need their permission to do this. No one has to approve your inner world. This is your responsibility. Your future depends on what you rehearse daily. Not occasionally. Daily. That's the key. Another hard truth. If your vision isn't strong, temptation becomes stronger. Distraction wins when direction is weak. People don't fall off track because they're lazy. They fall off track because their vision isn't present. When vision is clear, discipline feels natural. When vision is absent, discipline feels forced. It's not about motivation. It's about clarity. Here's a simple structure. Every morning, ask one question. Who am I becoming today? Not someday. Today. Then act in alignment with that answer. One decision at a time. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency. And every night, review. Did your actions match the vision? Did you drift? Did you correct? No emotion. No judgment. Just data. That's discipline. Let's talk about pressure again. Pressure will come. Just criticism. Six. Vision doesn't eliminate pressure. It anchors you through it. When pressure hits, you fall back on what you've rehearsed. If you've rehearsed fear, you panic. If you've rehearsed confidence, you respond. If you've rehearsed discipline, you execute. That's the difference. You have a choice. You can let pressure erase your vision, or you can use vision to outlast pressure. One breaks you. The other builds you. That's the key. Understand this. Your environment will constantly try to reprogram you. Through noise. Through urgency. Through other people's expectations. Daily vision rehearsal is how you fight back. Silently. Consistently. Effectively. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You just do it. You don't need their permission. This is how vision becomes identity. Identity becomes behavior. Behavior becomes results. Not instantly, but inevitably. If you can't see it daily, you won't become it. But if you can see it daily and act accordingly, reality has no choice but to follow. Lock this in. Vision is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. And discipline, repeated long enough, becomes destiny. You've now learned how to create vision, how to act without proof, and how to keep vision alive daily. But vision doesn't exist in isolation. It is either supported or sabotaged by what surrounds you. People, media, habits. So now it's time to confront the silent force shaping your future every day. Your environment. Chapter 4. Your environment is either feeding or killing your vision. Your environment is never neutral. Let that sink in. It is either pushing you forward or pulling you backward. There is no middle ground. Every person you spend time with, every piece of media you consume, every routine you repeat, all of it is shaping what you believe is possible. And most people lose their vision not because it was weak, but because their environment was stronger. Protect the vision or it will be erased. That's not dramatic. That's factual. Let's start with a hard truth. You can have the strongest vision in the world and still fail. If your environment constantly contradicts it, the brain adapts to what surrounds it, not to what you wish were true, but to what is repeatedly reinforced. That's the key. Psychology makes this unavoidable. Human beings are contextual creatures. Your thoughts are influenced by voices around you. Your standards are shaped by what you see daily. Your behavior normalizes to your environment. That's why average environments produce average results. Not because people are incapable, but because small thinking becomes normal. Complaining becomes normal. Settling becomes normal. Waiting becomes normal. And vision becomes abnormal. Protect the vision or it will be erased. You have a choice. You can pretend environment doesn't matter, or you can take control of it. One leads to frustration. The other leads to leverage. That's the key. Let's break this down. There are three major forces in your environment: people, media, routines. Each one is either feeding belief or injecting doubt. Start with people. The people around you influence you more than you realize. Not through words alone, but through attitudes, tone, expectations, limits. If the people around you normalize excuses, excuses start to feel reasonable. If the people around you settle, settling feels safe. If the people around you don't dream, your vision feels unrealistic. That's how vision dies. Not through attack, through subtle erosion. Protect the vision or it will be erased. Here's the mistake most people make. They keep everyone close. Out of loyalty, out of history, out of comfort. But loyalty without alignment is self-sabotage. Not everyone who loves you believes in growth. Not everyone who supports you understands vision. And that's okay. But you must be honest about influence. You don't need their permission, but you do need boundaries. That's the key. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you stop letting everyone shape your thinking. You stop oversharing. You stop explaining. You stop seeking validation. You observe who feeds energy and who drains it. You have a choice. You can protect your vision quietly, or you can expose it carelessly. One strengthens it, the other weakens it. Now let's talk media. Media is environment. What you watch, what you scroll, what you listen to. It all programs expectations. Most media is designed to keep you passive. Consume, react, compare. And comparison kills vision. Because comparison replaces direction with doubt. Suddenly you're not focused on your path. You're distracted by someone else's highlight reel. That's weakness by default. Not because you're broken, but because you're undisciplined. It's not about distraction. It's about discipline. Here's what must stop. Stop starting your day with noise. Stop filling silence with random input. Stop consuming content that reinforces fear, outrage, or limitation. That's not staying informed. That's staying distracted. Protect the vision or it will be erased. Here's what must start. You become intentional about inputs. You choose media that reinforces growth, that expands possibility, that sharpens focus. Not all day, but consistently. You don't need motivation. You need alignment. That's the key. Now routines. This is where vision either becomes real or stays theoretical. Your daily routines are your environment in motion. What you do every day trains your nervous system. If your routine is reactive, your vision becomes fragile. If your routine is intentional, your vision becomes stable. Most people say they want a different future, but keep the same routines. That never works. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your routines. Let's be blunt. If your environment encourages comfort, your discipline will struggle. If your environment encourages urgency, discipline becomes natural. High performers design environments that reduce friction. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. That's the key. Here's a practical instruction. Audit your environment. Ask 3 questions. Who am I around most? What am I consuming daily? What do my routines reinforce? Don't judge. Observe. Then adjust. One change at a time. Remove what weakens you. Add what strengthens you. This is not about perfection. It's about direction. Another hard truth. If you don't protect your vision, the world will replace it with something smaller. Bills, drama, other people's expectations. Vision requires space, and space must be defended. You don't need their permission to do this. This is your responsibility. Average environments normalize small thinking. They call discipline extreme. They call focus obsession. They call vision unrealistic. That's how they protect their comfort. Don't argue with them. Just don't adopt their standards. That's the key. Let's talk about discipline again. Discipline is not forcing yourself to succeed in a hostile environment. Discipline is designing an environment where success is the default. Remove temptation. Reduce noise. Increase clarity. That's real discipline. It's not about motivation. It's about systems. You have a choice. You can keep hoping your environment improves, or you can take control of it. One keeps you stuck. The other moves you forward. Protect the vision or it will be erased. This chapter is about ownership. Ownership of what surrounds you. Ownership of what influences you. Ownership of what you allow access to your mind. Because vision is fragile in the early stages. Fragile. And fragile things must be protected until they're strong. Once vision is strong, criticism won't shake it. Doubt won't derail it. Pressure won't erase it. But early on, environment decides everything. Lock this in. Your environment is either feeding your vision or killing it. There is no neutral. And once you take control of it, everything else becomes easier. Discipline strengthens. Focus sharpens. Vision stabilizes. You've now learned how to protect your vision from the outside. But there's another threat. A quieter one. One that comes from inside conversations. From explaining. From justifying. From talking too much. So now it's time to learn restraint. How silence protects momentum. How words can weaken vision. Chapter 5. Stop explaining your dreams to small minds. Most dreams don't die from failure. They die from explanation. Too much talking. Too much justifying. Too much exposure, too early. Explanation invites doubt. Silence preserves momentum. Move in silence. Let results introduce you. That's the rule. Vision is fragile in its early stages. Not weak. Fragile. Like a seed before it breaks the soil. If you dig it up every day to show people, it won't grow. Yet that's exactly what most people do. They share too soon. They explain too much. They look for validation before traction. And then they wonder why motivation disappears. That's the key. Let's get honest about why people explain their dreams. They want reassurance. They want approval. They want someone to say, yes, that makes sense. But here's the truth. If your dream made sense to everyone right now, it wouldn't be big enough to change you. Vision is ahead of consensus. Small minds need proof before belief. Big vision requires belief before proof. You have a choice. You can explain your dream to feel temporarily supported, or you can protect it to make it real. One feels good now. The other pays off later. That's the key. Psychologically, explanation drains energy. Every time you explain your plan, your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction, as if progress was made. But no real progress happened. Talking replaces doing. And the brain doesn't know the difference at first. So you feel productive while staying still. That's how momentum leaks. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. Discipline to stay quiet. Discipline to work without witnesses. Small minds aren't evil. They're limited by experience. They judge based on what they've seen, not what's possible. So when you explain something they've never done, they translate it through their own limits. They say, be realistic. Don't risk too much. What if it doesn't work? They think they're helping. But doubt is contagious. And early vision cannot afford contamination. Move in silence. Let results introduce you. You don't need their permission. Say it again. You don't need their permission. Not to try. Not to start. Not to commit. Your vision is not a group project. Here's what must stop. Stop announcing plans. Stop justifying your ambition. Stop trying to convince people who haven't earned context. That's not transparency. That's insecurity. And insecurity always looks for witnesses. That's the key. Here's what must start. Quiet execution. Private discipline. Consistent action. Minimal explanation. You let behavior speak. Results talk louder than words ever will. Let's talk about momentum. Momentum is subtle. It builds quietly through repetition. But it's easy to break. One discouraging comment. One doubtful reaction. One raised eyebrow. Suddenly you start questioning yourself. Not because you were wrong, but because you listened too soon. Protect the vision or it will be erased. High performers understand this. They don't move in silence because they're arrogant. They move in silence because they're focused. They know early validation is cheap. They want outcomes. That's the key. Another truth most people avoid. When you explain your dreams, you invite opinions. Opinions lead to comparison. Comparison leads to hesitation. Hesitation kills execution. Execution is the only thing that matters. You have a choice. You can be understood, or you can be effective. Rarely both at the same time. That's the trade. This doesn't mean you isolate completely. It means you become selective. You share with mentors, not spectators. You listen to builders, not critics. You seek feedback from those ahead of you, not beside you. That's discipline. It's not about ego. It's about protection. Let's make this practical. Before you speak, ask one question. Does this conversation strengthen my commitment or weaken it? If it weakens it, stay silent. That's the key. Silence creates space. Space for focus. Space for consistency. Space for mistakes, without commentary. When no one is watching, you're free to grow. Freedom accelerates learning. Learning accelerates results. Most people want credit before completion. High performers want results before recognition. Move in silence. Let results introduce you. There will come a time to speak. After evidence. After consistency. After results. At that point, explanation is unnecessary. Proof removes doubt. You don't argue with results. You don't debate outcomes. You don't explain success. It explains itself. Another psychological layer. When you talk too much about a goal, you create a social identity around intention. I'm the person who's working on this. But identity without behavior is fragile. When results lag, shame creeps in. So people quit, not because they can't do it, but because they talk too early. Silence prevents this. Silence keeps identity private until it's earned. That's the key. Discipline thrives in privacy. No applause. No pressure. No performance. Just work. Day after day. You have a choice. You can feed your ego with attention. Or you can feed your future with action. One costs you everything. The other gives it back with interest. Let's lock this in. Vision needs protection before it needs promotion. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Quiet is not fear. It's focus. Move in silence. Let results introduce you. Once you stop explaining, something powerful happens. You reclaim energy. You sharpen focus. You stop negotiating your commitment. And commitment deepens. This chapter isn't about secrecy. It's about timing. Say less now. So you can say everything later, without words. You've now learned how to protect your vision from people, noise, and doubt. But there's another shift required. It's not just about protecting the future you see. It's about becoming that future, not acting as if the standard already exists. So now it's time to raise the bar on your behavior. Chapter 6. Act like the future is already watching you. Every decision you make is being observed. Not by the world. Not by other people. By you. By the version of you that you are becoming. Future you is watching. Don't disappoint them. That sentence should change how you move. Most people think discipline is about forcing yourself to do hard things. It's not. Discipline is about alignment. Alignment between who you say you want to become and how you behave when no one is watching. That's the key. Let's get clear. You are always acting out an identity. Even right now. Your habits reflect who you believe you are. If your behavior doesn't match your vision, it's not because you lack motivation. It's because your identity hasn't caught up yet. And identity is trained through action, not intention. Here's where most people break. They treat the future version of themselves as imaginary. Something distant. Something abstract. Something optional. So they delay. I'll be disciplined later. I'll clean this up when things improve. I'll take this seriously when it matters. But it matters now. Because the future is built in ordinary moments. That's the key. High performers act as if their future self is already present. Watching. Measuring. Remembering. So they don't negotiate with weakness. They don't say, just this once. They understand that every just this once is a vote. A vote for the person they are becoming. You have a choice. You can vote for comfort. Or you can vote for growth. One weakens the future. The other strengthens it. Let's talk psychology. The brain responds powerfully to identity-based pressure. Not fear of punishment, but fear of self-betrayal. Disappointing others hurts briefly. Disappointing yourself lingers. When you frame discipline as respect for your future self, resistance decreases. Because no one wants to let themselves down. That's the key. Future you is watching. Not judging harshly, but taking notes. They remember every excuse you repeated. Every promise you broke. Every standard you lowered. And they also remember every time you showed up tired. Every time you acted with integrity. Every time you chose discipline over ease. Those moments compound. Here's what must stop. Stop acting like your future will magically fix your present behavior. Stop treating bad habits as temporary exceptions. Stop assuming you'll become disciplined after success. That's backward thinking. Discipline comes first. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Here's what must start. You act today the way the future version of you would expect. You clean up small decisions. You keep small promises. You show up when it's inconvenient. Not because anyone is watching. Because you are. Future you is watching. Don't disappoint them. This changes everything. Suddenly, discipline isn't punishment. It's preparation. You're not forcing yourself. You're honoring yourself. That's the key. Let's make this practical. Before you make a decision, ask one question. Would the person I want to become respect this choice? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. This removes confusion. No debating. No overthinking. Just alignment. Most people wait for confidence to act like their future self. High performers reverse it. They act like their future self first. Confidence follows. You don't need proof. You don't need permission. You need consistency. Another hard truth. Your standards are revealed in private. Not when things are easy. Not when people are watching. But when you're tired. When you're frustrated. When you could get away with less. That's when identity is chosen. You have a choice. You can lower standards when no one sees. Or you can raise them because someone does. Future you. That's the key. Discipline becomes lighter when it's framed as continuity. You're not starting over every day. You're continuing a story. Breaking discipline feels like breaking character. And strong identities don't break character easily. This is why role models work. Not because they motivate, but because they clarify behavior. You don't ask, "How do I feel today?" You ask, "How does someone at my level behave?" That's discipline. Let's address resistance again. Your mind will say, "This is extreme. This is too serious. This is overthinking. This is maturity. This is leadership over self." Average people let moods decide. High performers let identity decide. That's the difference. Future you is watching how you handle boredom, how you handle discomfort, how you handle temptation. Those moments don't feel important, but they are decisive. Here's another instruction. Write down 3 behaviors your future self never negotiates. Not goals. Standards. For example, I show up even when I don't feel like it. I don't lie to myself. I finish what I start. Then live as if those standards already apply. Because they do. That's the key. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds confidence. Confidence reinforces identity. It's a loop, and you control the first step. Let's reframe discipline one last time. Discipline is self-respect in action. Every discipline choice is a signal to your nervous system. I can rely on myself. That belief is priceless. Most people are disappointed in their future because they abandoned it daily. Not once. Daily. Quietly. You won't make that mistake because now you see the link. Future you is not asking for miracles. They're asking for effort. They're asking you to stop making excuses they have to live with. That's the key. Let this chapter lock something in. You are not becoming someone someday. You are becoming someone now. Through every choice, every action, every standard, act like the future is already watching you. Because they are. You've now learned how to act in alignment with the future you see. But discipline doesn't survive chaos. It requires control over emotion, over reaction, over impulse. So now it's time to build the inner stability that protects discipline under pressure. Chapter 7. Emotional control is the backbone of vision. Your vision does not fail because it's unrealistic. It fails because your emotions take control. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They blame lack of opportunity. They blame lack of support. They blame bad timing. Vision collapses when emotions dictate decisions. That's the key. Every setback triggers a feeling. Every delay triggers frustration. Every criticism triggers doubt. Every obstacle triggers fear. And if emotions are in charge, discipline disappears. You have a choice. You can let emotions drive, or you can put them in the back seat. One leads to consistency. The other leads to chaos. Let's be clear about something. Emotions are not the enemy. Uncontrolled emotions are. A calm mind does not mean a weak mind. It means a directed mind. Clear vision. Relentless action. Repeat that. Clear vision. Relentless action. That is the formula. Here's the psychological trap. When emotions spike, the brain seeks relief. Not progress. Relief. Comfort behaviors. Avoidance. Distraction. That's why people quit on bad days. Not because the plan stopped working. Because emotions hijacked the wheel. That's the key. High performers don't eliminate emotion. They delay reaction. They don't respond immediately. They don't make permanent decisions in temporary states. That's discipline. Here's what must stop. Stop trusting how you feel as a signal for what to do. Stop acting immediately on frustration. Stop making decisions while emotional. Your feelings are information, not instructions. You don't need their permission, not from people, not from your moods. Consistency beats motivation every time. Motivation is emotional. Consistency is behavioral. Motivation fluctuates. Discipline remains. It's not about passion. It's about discipline. That's the key. Let's talk about discipline under pressure. Pressure reveals emotional control. When things are going well, anyone looks disciplined. When things fall apart, identity is exposed. Do you react? Or do you respond? Reaction is emotional. Response is intentional. You have a choice. Here's a powerful shift. Instead of asking, "How do I feel?" What does the system require? Systems don't care about moods. Systems care about execution. Vision survives through systems. That's the key. Calm mind does not mean passive. It means focused. Emotionally unstable people are busy, not effective. Calm people move slower and win longer. They don't burn energy on panic. They conserve it for action. Here's a hard truth. Most people abandon their vision not because it's hard, but because it's boring. Because progress is slow. Because praise disappears. Because novelty fades. Emotion demands stimulation. Discipline accepts repetition. That's the difference. Clear vision. Relentless action. Say it again. Let's get practical. When emotion rises, do nothing at first. Just breathe. Let the feeling pass without acting on it. Emotion peaks, then fades. But actions taken at the peak leave permanent damage. That's the key. Another instruction. Name the emotion. I am frustrated. I am angry. I am discouraged. Naming emotion creates distance. Distance restores control. Control protects vision. What must start? You must train emotional delay. You don't respond immediately to messages. You don't quit on hard days. You don't reward yourself for showing up halfway. You execute regardless of mood. That's discipline. Let's address anger. Anger is energy without direction. Most people vent it. High performers channel it. Into workouts. Into work. Into execution. Anger becomes fuel, without burning the system. That's the key. Fear is next. Fear is imagination without control. It creates stories that feel real. You counter fear with facts. What is actually happening? What is within my control? What is the next action? Emotion shrinks under clarity. Sadness. Sadness slows momentum. You don't fight sadness with hype. You fight it with structure. Wake-up time. Work blocks. Physical movement. Structure stabilizes emotion. That's the key. Here's something most people miss. Your emotional baseline improves when your life is disciplined. Nutrition. Movement. Emotional control is physical too. A chaotic body produces a chaotic mind. You have a choice. You can keep riding emotional waves. Or you can build emotional strength. Strength is trained, not wished for. Let's lock this in. Vision requires emotional neutrality, not numbness. Neutrality. You feel but you don't obey. You observe emotion like weather. You don't cancel the mission because it's raining. That's the key. People with emotional control become predictable to themselves. They know they'll show up. They know they'll execute. That trust compounds. Confidence grows quietly. Clear vision. Relentless action. This is not a mantra. It's a standard. Most people live emotionally reactive lives. You will not. Because now you understand something crucial. Vision is fragile. Emotion is volatile. Discipline is the stabilizer. Let this chapter end with this truth. Your future does not need more emotion. It needs more control. You don't need their permission. Not from others. Not from feelings. You've learned how to protect your vision from emotional sabotage. But discipline still leaks when words are wasted. When energy is scattered. When silence is avoided. Now it's time to master restraint. To understand power without noise. Chapter 8. Repetition is how vision becomes identity. You don't become who you want to be through intensity. You become them through repetition. That's the key. Most people think transformation is dramatic. A breakthrough moment. A surge of motivation. A single decision that changes everything. That fantasy keeps people weak. Because real change is quiet. It's repeated behavior executed when nothing exciting is happening. Do it again. And again. And again. Vision only becomes real when it becomes identity. And identity is not declared. It is trained. Here's the psychological truth. Your brain believes what you do repeatedly. Not what you say. Not what you plan. Not what you visualize once. Repeated action rewires self-image. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits are repetition. Let's clear something up. Repetition is not punishment. It is programming. Every repeated action is a vote. A vote for the person you're becoming. You have a choice. You can vote once and quit. Or you can vote every day until the result is undeniable. Most people quit because repetition feels boring. Because the brain wants novelty. Dopamine. Excitement. Validation. But greatness is built in monotony. That's the difference. High performers don't ask, do I feel like it? This. What gets repeated? Because what gets repeated becomes automatic. Automatic behavior becomes identity. That's the key. Let's talk discipline. Discipline is not force. It's familiarity. When you repeat an action enough times, resistance disappears. It becomes normal. It becomes expected. It becomes who you are. This is why motivation is unreliable. Motivation wants emotional payoff. Repetition wants completion. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Here's what must stop. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop needing excitement to begin. Stop changing plans every time boredom shows up. Boredom is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that repetition is working. That's the key. Look at any elite performer. They don't do extraordinary things once. They do ordinary things relentlessly. Training, preparation, execution, and again, and again. Repetition builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up, you send a message. I keep my word. That message compounds. Confidence grows quietly. Here's something most people miss. Identity changes after behavior, not before. You don't become disciplined and then act disciplined. You act disciplined until discipline becomes your identity. That's the key. Let's get practical. Pick one behavior tied directly to your vision. Not 10. But something measurable. Something repeatable. And you repeat it daily. No negotiation. Not for motivation. Not for mood. Not for permission. You don't need their permission. You don't even need your own approval. You just execute. When resistance appears, don't argue with it. Execute smaller. Lower the bar, not the standard. 5 minutes beats 0. Repetition beats intensity. Do it again. And again. And again. Say it. Here's the trap. People confuse progress with novelty. They think if it feels familiar, it's not working. Wrong. Familiarity is the goal. Automatic execution is power. That's the key. Repetition also kills fear. The unknown becomes known. The intimidating becomes routine. Confidence grows through exposure, not thinking. Let's talk about weakness. Weakness is not lack of ability. It's lack of repetition. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. Every excuse disappears under repetition. I don't have time fades when action is automatic. I don't feel ready dies when action is familiar. Action first. Identity follows. You have a choice. You can keep restarting, or you can keep repeating. One creates frustration. The other creates mastery. Here's a hard truth. You don't need better strategies. You need longer streaks. Most people quit right before identity shifts. Right before it clicks. Right before effort turns into momentum. That's the key. Repetition creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief creates consistency. Consistency creates results. Results lock identity. Do you see it? This is not complicated. It's uncomfortable. Another instruction. Track repetition, not outcomes. Outcomes lag. Repetition compounds. If you track outcomes, you quit early. If you track repetition, you win eventually. Let boredom speak. Boredom says, "This is becoming normal." That's good. Normal is powerful. Clear vision. Relentless action. Repetition ties them together. Your vision does not need more thinking. It needs more doing. And again. And again. Let this land. You are not behind. You are under-repeated. Fix that. You don't need permission. You don't need confidence. You don't need clarity. You need repetition. That's the key. This chapter ends with a decision, not a feeling. A decision to repeat when it's boring. To repeat when no one notices. To repeat when progress feels invisible. Because repetition is how vision becomes identity. And identity never argues with action. It executes. You've learned how repetition builds who you are. Now it's time to raise the bar. To understand why your standards, not your goals, control your life. Chapter 9. Loneliness is the price of seeing further. Vision separates you before it rewards you. That's not a mistake. That's the cost. If you see further than the people around you, you will feel alone. If you think differently, you will feel misunderstood. If you move early, you will move alone. That's the key. Most people fear loneliness more than failure. So they shrink their vision to fit the room. They lower their standards to stay accepted. They trade destiny for belonging. You have a choice. Loneliness is not a punishment. It is preparation. Say it. Isolation is preparation. Here's the psychology. When your vision expands, your reference group no longer matches you. Different priorities. Different urgency. Different standards. That gap creates discomfort. Most people retreat. High performers advance. Feeling misunderstood does not mean you are wrong. It means you are early. That's the key. Think about it. If everyone understands your vision, it's probably not big enough. If everyone agrees with your pace, you're probably moving too slow. Vision separates before it unites. This is where many people sabotage themselves. They start explaining. They seek validation. They ask for reassurance. You don't need their permission. Explanation invites doubt. Doubt weakens momentum. Momentum is fragile in early stages. Protect it. Isolation is not the absence of people. It's the absence of agreement. You can be surrounded and still alone. That's normal. Here's what must stop. Stop trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop shrinking to keep relationships comfortable. Stop expecting support from people who haven't paid the price you're paying. You are not here to be understood. You are here to execute. That's the key. Loneliness reveals strength. When no one is watching, discipline is tested. When no one claps, commitment is proven. When no one agrees, belief is sharpened. Most people quit in isolation, not because the work is hard, because the silence is loud. Silence forces you to face yourself. No applause, no validation, no feedback, just action. And again, and again. This is where identity is forged. Not in crowds. In quiet repetition. Isolation is preparation. Let's talk discipline. Discipline is doing the work without emotional reinforcement. No praise. No recognition. No encouragement. Just standards. It's not about loneliness. It's about discipline. Here's a hard truth. If you are always surrounded, you're probably distracted. Growth requires space. Space creates clarity. Clarity sharpens vision. Most breakthroughs happen in seasons of solitude. Not isolation forever. Isolation for formation. That's the key. This does not mean arrogance. It means alignment. You stop forcing connections that drain momentum. You protect your energy. You choose environments intentionally. You have a choice. Seek comfort or seek growth. You cannot have both at the same time. Let's get practical. Audit your circle. Not emotionally, behaviorally. Who reinforces discipline? Who normalizes excuses? Who respects silence? Who demands attention? You don't need to cut people off. You need to stop leaking energy. Boundaries create focus. Focus creates results. Another instruction. Limit your explanations. Limit your announcements. Let results speak. Move in silence. That's the key. Loneliness also sharpens self-trust. When there's no one to lean on, you learn to stand. When there's no one to ask, you decide. When there's no one to approve, you act. This builds authority. Internal authority. The kind that doesn't wobble. Many people confuse loneliness with something being wrong. Wrong interpretation. Loneliness often means you're upgrading. Old systems fall away. New alignment hasn't arrived yet. Stay steady. Isolation is preparation. Say it again. You don't need to explain the grind. You don't need to justify the sacrifice. You don't need to defend your pace. You don't need their permission. Here's the danger. If you escape loneliness too fast, you return to small thinking. You dilute your standards. You slow your execution. You delay your future. Let the loneliness do its work. It strengthens focus. It simplifies priorities. It removes noise. This chapter is not telling you to reject people. It's telling you to respect timing. Not everyone can walk with you in every season. That's okay. You are not being abandoned. You are being refined. That's the key. High performers learn to be alone without being bitter, quiet without being passive, focused without being cold. Loneliness becomes peaceful when you stop resisting it, when you understand its purpose, when you stop making it mean something is wrong. Clear vision, relentless action. Isolation supports all three. Let this lock in. Vision will cost you familiarity before it gives you freedom. It will separate you before it elevates you. That is the process. If you feel misunderstood, good. If you feel ahead, stay steady. If you feel alone, stay disciplined. Isolation is preparation. You've learned how solitude strengthens vision. Now it's time to confront the next threat. The one that silently erodes progress. The one that feels productive but destroys momentum. Chapter 10. Pressure is proof you're close. Pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the signal. Pressure means progress. When vision starts turning real, resistance increases, not decreases. That's the part most people misunderstand. They expect ease as confirmation. They quit when pressure shows up. Wrong interpretation. Pressure does not mean stop. Pressure means you're close. That's the key. Every major shift brings compression. Old habits fighting new standards. Old identity resisting new behavior. The mind testing commitment. Here's the psychology. Your brain is designed to protect comfort, not growth. When you approach a breakthrough, your nervous system detects risk, not danger. Change. So it creates friction, fatigue, distraction, urgency to escape. Most people interpret this as a sign something is wrong. That's why most people quit right before momentum compounds. Pressure means progress. Say it. Think about lifting weights. The muscle does not grow when it's easy. It grows under load. Vision works the same way. When pressure rises, it means capacity is being tested. When capacity is tested, identity is forming. That's the key. Let's get honest. You felt this before. Right when things started moving. Right when clarity increased. Right when results got closer. Suddenly everything felt heavier. More doubt. More resistance. More excuses. That was not failure. That was proximity. Here's what must stop. Stop interpreting discomfort as danger. Stop emotionalizing pressure. Stop quitting during compression. Pressure is not punishment. It's preparation. High performers expect pressure. They plan for it. They don't panic when it shows up. They lean in. You have a choice. React emotionally or respond with discipline. It's not about stress. It's about discipline. Discipline turns pressure into precision. Instead of spiraling, you simplify. Instead of complaining, you execute. Instead of escaping, you commit. Most people get busy under pressure. That's avoidance. Movement without direction. Noise instead of progress. Pressure exposes truth. It shows what habits are solid. It reveals what systems are weak. It exposes where discipline is missing. That's the key. Here's the practical shift. When pressure increases, reduce options. Do less. But do it better. Pressure demands focus, not frenzy. Focus multiplies force. Another instruction. When things feel heavy, tighten standards. Wake up earlier. Simplify routines. Remove distractions. Execute fundamentals. This is where vision separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs need motivation. Professionals rely on structure. Pressure does not require hype. It requires habits. Repeat this. Pressure means progress. There is a moment before every breakthrough where it feels harder than it should. That's the moment most people leave. They say, it shouldn't be this difficult. Wrong expectation. It should be difficult. Difficulty is the gate. Pressure also triggers self-doubt. That's normal. The mind questions what the body is about to prove. Do not negotiate with that voice. You don't need their permission, including the voice in your head. Let's talk behavior. Under pressure, stop seeking reassurance. Stop scrolling for comfort. Stop explaining your struggle. Start doing fewer things with higher intensity. Start honoring structure over mood. Start showing up even when energy dips. That's how discipline replaces weakness. Pressure is a filter. It removes those who want outcomes without responsibility. It leaves those willing to endure. If you're feeling pressure right now, pay attention. You're not behind. You're close. Pressure often arrives disguised as boredom, irritation, or restlessness. That doesn't mean quit. It means refine. High performers learn to stay calm under load. Clear vision. Relentless action. Pressure also reveals priorities. Under load, what matters becomes obvious. Use that clarity. Cut the rest. Another hard truth. If your life feels comfortable, your vision is probably small. Growth disrupts. Expansion strains. Pressure is proof you're stretching beyond old limits. That's the key. You are not overwhelmed. You are undertrained for the next level. Training is repetition under stress. Doing the same right things when it's no longer exciting. That's identity work. Pressure does not ask how you feel. It asks who you are becoming. You have a choice. Become reactive or become relentless. Pressure exposes character faster than success ever will. Success hides weakness. Pressure reveals it. So welcome it. Study it. Use it. One more instruction. When pressure hits, shorten your time horizon. Focus on today. This hour. This rep. This action. Momentum builds through small completions under stress. Not grand plans. Pressure means progress. Say it again. If you quit now, you will have to face this pressure again later. But with regret added. Better to finish. This chapter locks in one truth. Resistance increases when vision approaches reality. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Stay steady. Stay disciplined. Stay present. You've learned to recognize pressure as progress. Now it's time to master what sustains execution when pressure never leaves. The final layer. The one that separates those who last from those who burn out. Chapter 11. Becomes so certain that doubt has no room. Doubt is not intelligent. Doubt is untrained. Doubt exists where decisions are weak. Certainty removes it completely. Most people think certainty comes from thinking. It doesn't. Certainty comes from deciding. That's the key. Hesitation is not a personality trait. It's a lack of commitment. It's undecided energy leaking into action. When you decide once, doubt has nowhere to land. When you keep deciding every day, doubt stays alive. That's the problem. Decide once. Execute daily. Say it. Here's the psychology. The brain seeks closure. Unmade decisions create tension. That tension becomes anxiety. Anxiety becomes overthinking. Overthinking becomes inaction. Certainty shuts that loop down. One decision. Clear direction. Consistent execution. Most people keep the door open just in case. Just in case it's hard. Just in case they fail. Just in case someone disagrees. That open door is where doubt lives. Close it. You have a choice. Be half committed and constantly conflicted. Or fully committed and calm. Certainty does not mean confidence. Confidence fluctuates. Certainty is structural. It's built on rules. Rules eliminate debate. Debate creates hesitation. Hesitation kills momentum. That's the key. Look at your life. Where are you renegotiating daily? Your routine. Your standards. Your vision. Every renegotiation invites doubt back in. High performers don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" They ask, "What's required today?" That's discipline. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. Certainty grows through action, not thought. Thinking creates options. Action creates proof. Proof creates belief. Belief creates certainty. Waiting to feel certain before acting is backwards. At first, certainty follows. Here's what must stop. Stop researching endlessly. Stop planning without executing. Stop waiting for emotional alignment. Start moving with imperfect clarity. Start honoring decisions even when uncomfortable. Start treating doubt as noise, not guidance. You don't need their permission. Not from people. Not from circumstances. Not from your own past. Certainty also requires identity alignment. You must decide who you are becoming. Then act accordingly. Identity removes choice. Choice creates fatigue. When you identify as disciplined, you don't debate showing up. You show up. When you identify as focused, distractions lose power. Certainty simplifies life. It removes drama. It removes second-guessing. It removes emotional chaos. Most people are exhausted not from effort, but from indecision. Decide once. Execute daily. Here's a practical instruction. Write down 3 non-negotiables. Daily behaviors tied directly to your vision. No flexibility. No debate. When doubt appears, you don't argue with it. You execute the rule. Rules outperform motivation every time. That's the key. Another instruction. Stop consuming content that invites comparison. Comparison creates uncertainty. Uncertainty feeds doubt. Certainty requires insulation. Protect your inputs. Certainty also means accepting loss. Loss of comfort. Loss of approval. Loss of alternate paths. You can't be certain and keep every option open. Certainty closes doors. That's the price. Most people fear commitment because it eliminates escape routes. High performers eliminate escape routes on purpose. With no escape, execution sharpens. Doubt thrives in optionality. Certainty thrives in commitment. Say it again. Decide once. Execute daily. When certainty is present, emotions settle. Calm replaces anxiety. Focus replaces confusion. Certainty doesn't make things easy. It makes them clear. Clear standards reduce mental noise. Mental noise drains energy. Energy fuels execution. This is how discipline replaces weakness. Not by force, by structure. If doubt keeps showing up in the same area, look there. That's where you haven't fully decided. Decide. Then move. You are not here to feel ready. You are here to become reliable. Reliable people outperform talented ones. Certainty builds reliability. Let this lock in. Doubt is not a sign to stop. It's a sign to decide deeper. Once you decide, stop revisiting the question. Only review execution. You have a choice. Live in mental negotiation, or live in forward motion. Certainty is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just acts. You've learned how to eliminate doubt at the root. By deciding once. By executing daily. By letting discipline do the talking. Now there's only one chapter left. The final integration. The moment where vision stops being an idea and becomes a life. You've built belief. You've built discipline. You've built certainty. Now it's time to lock it forever. To see clearly. To move decisively. To live from vision without compromise. Chapter 12. Live like failure is no longer an option. Failure only survives where quitting is allowed. Read that again. Failure only exists when exit plans exist. When vision becomes non-negotiable, behavior aligns automatically. That's the key. Most people say they want success, but they also keep a back door open, a fallback, an excuse, a soft landing. That's where failure lives. If quitting is an option, the mind will eventually choose it. Not because you're weak, because the brain is wired to conserve energy. You have a choice. Live with escape routes, or burn them. High performers don't succeed because they're fearless. They succeed because they remove alternatives. When there is no plan B, plan A sharpens. Burn the exit plans. Say it. Here's the psychology. When the brain believes retreat is possible, effort stays partial. Energy stays divided. Focus stays diluted. But when the brain knows quitting is not allowed, something changes. Adaptation increases. Creativity sharpens. Discipline locks in. That's the key. Living like failure is not an option does not mean recklessness. It means resolve. It means standards that do not bend under emotion. Most people wait to feel confident before committing. Wrong order. Commitment creates confidence. This works because I don't quit. Say it. Let's get practical. Where are you still negotiating? Where are you giving yourself permission to stop? Fatigue? Criticism? Slow progress? Those are not reasons to quit. Those are expected conditions. Stop telling yourself, if this doesn't work. Stop rehearsing failure. Stop fantasizing about relief. Start rehearsing endurance. Start expecting resistance. Start acting like the outcome is inevitable. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Discipline removes choice. No choice means no drama. No drama means consistent execution. Living like failure is not an option changes daily behavior. You wake up differently. You plan differently. You tolerate less nonsense. Because quitting is not on the table. This also means accepting discomfort without negotiation. Boredom, loneliness, pressure, repetition. These are not signals to stop. They are the price of alignment. High performers don't ask, how do I feel today? They ask, what does the standard require today? Standards over moods. Boys, you don't need their permission. Not from doubters. Not from critics. Not from people who quit on themselves. Another truth. When failure is not an option, excuses disappear. Because excuses exist to justify exit. No exit. No excuse. That's the key. Here's an instruction. Write down your non-negotiables. The behaviors that happen no matter what. No debate. When emotion rises, you do the task anyway. That trains identity. Identity is stronger than willpower. Most people rely on willpower. It runs out. Identity does not. You are no longer trying. You are executing. Burn the exit plans. Stop saying, I'll see how it goes. Start saying, this is happening. This doesn't mean everything works immediately. It means you stay long enough to learn. Long enough to adapt. Long enough to win. This works because I don't quit. Say it again. Failure is often delayed success abandoned early. Living like failure isn't an option solves that. Here's another shift. Stop protecting your ego. Protect your standards. Ego wants comfort. Standards demand growth. When standards lead, results follow. Living this way also simplifies decisions. If it doesn't serve the vision, it goes. If it weakens discipline, it's removed. No negotiation. You may lose people. You may lose convenience. You may lose familiarity. You gain momentum. You gain clarity. You gain respect for yourself. That's the trade. People will say you're extreme. They're right. Average never built anything meaningful. You have a choice. Be reasonable. Or be relentless. Relentless does not mean chaotic. It means consistent. Consistency beats intensity every time. And consistency is born when quitting is no longer allowed. One more instruction. Stop talking about backup plans. Stop mentally rehearsing failure scenarios. Your mind listens. Feed it certainty. Feed it structure. Feed it action. This works because I don't quit. Lock that in. Let this chapter finalize the transformation. Vision is no longer an idea. It's a contract. A contract with yourself. Signed with discipline. Enforced by standards. You don't need motivation anymore. You don't need hype. You don't need permission. You live it now. This audiobook started with vision. Seeing what others couldn't. Believing before evidence. Acting without validation. It ends here. With resolve. with certainty, with execution. Failure is no longer an option, because quitting is no longer allowed. You see clearly. You move decisively. You act relentlessly. This is the life. This is the standard. This is the vision. And now, you live it. You were never meant to live a small, reactive life. You were meant to see more, expect more, and demand more from yourself. Vision is not imagination. Vision is a decision. The moment you see your future clearly, excuses lose power. Fear loses control. Doubt loses its voice. From this moment forward, you don't wait. You move. You don't ask if it's possible. You act as if it's inevitable. Your challenge is simple. Live today as if the future you want is already guaranteed. And prove it with your actions. Hold the vision. Execute daily. The world will catch up later.